anyway, it turns out HMRC never knew anything about that, so I got away with that fraud.
Oh, are we live?
I'm not too sure. It's still saying redirecting.
Yeah, maybe take a wee second just to come through.
Okay, so it would appear we are live, and the tail end of that was cut. So,
Oh well, don't tell anyone.
as long as nobody
Shh.
publicly finds out. Right, gents, ladies, boys, and girls, good evening, and I hope you have had an enjoyable day because what a day I have had. The last 17 hours have been mental. The last 18 hours have been mental. And all I wanted to do last night was get a little bit of friggin' return sorted in the shed, but that didn't. I got a little bit done. So we have one person watching, so I don't know if that's me or you. So let's wait for a few more people to jump in. I'm quite keen to keep this to the 30 minutes this evening, simply because, well, my wife's ready to walk through the door any minute, and we are 3 years married today. So I kind of have
Three
other commitments this
years.
evening. 3 years. Mate, 6 years ago, I just met that girl. Now we are married, house built, business built, one kid, and another one due in 3 or 4 weeks, depending on God's good graces. It has been a very busy 6 years. And you know what? That was what I was saying about when I was saying this. Like, I was forced to like emotionally react to this, and I'm like, why are you doing that? This will come and go.
Yeah,
Um,
so I believe we're streaming on the business page, so I'm just going to share that link out. There we go. Yeah, so first of all, we'll keep this sort of short and sweet. When I spoke to you earlier, Eamon, you were very excited after, yeah, pretty much spending all evening, well, all morning earlier,
I
going through the
have
policies, going through changes. So yeah, like you've said, it's your anniversary today, so we're going to keep this to half an hour, hence why it's at 5 p.m. So thank you, first of all, Eamon, for taking some time and going through this. And I think a good place to start is just what has changed, what the bad news is, and then we'll move through sort of the original policy, what the good news is. Earlier you mentioned if you're set up for this properly, this is the biggest selling opportunity since COVID on Amazon, which will need some explanation, but yeah, the
yeah, okay.
opportunities.
I'll
Yeah,
try and do
let's
this
get
in the
stuck
order
into
that
it.
I planned it so that I don't just jump to the end and people have how the hell does that work. So, right, first off, my plan here is to share my screen and go through word for word what this policy says. So I noticed just as I did this, Amazon or Zoom has changed its layout. Give me 2 seconds. Screen two. That should have me sharing my screen. You should be able to see my untitled document now. Is that correct?
Yeah, a couple of seconds. That wow, we've actually got 19 people live at 5 p.m. during the week.
Cool
So
stuff.
yeah,
Right, so let's kick into this quickly. Updated the product policy for consumables. This has only come out 17 hours ago, so it's for consumables only. So that is grocery, pet, baby, and health and beauty categories. So if you're selling 3 Black & Decker drills under Jones's Gifts, you're sweet. Effective as of yesterday in the US, you can only list bundles that were created and offered by the original manufacturer. So if you go into Tesco's and you can lift a 4 pack of Heinz baked beans, you're perfectly capable of going home and offering that as a bundle. What you can no longer do is take Heinz Reds, Heinz tomato ketchup, Heinz baked beans, and I know Heinz mayonnaise and put them into a bundle. Because even though they are all by the Heinz brand, you are not the brand owner. They were not originally put into a bundle by the brand owner. So the whole notion of saying you can just go get a GS1 barcode, set up your own IP and brand, and then just start cranking out bundles, that is dead in the water. Is it? So The example is here, you can't do it with crisps, even if they're made by the same manufacturer, because they're two different brands. To comply with the policy, you can create new bundle listings with products from a single manufacturer. We won't start updating the policy until existing bundles until late in Q4 2024. And we will give you 30 days notice through email on your account has dashboard when we identify non-compliant bundles that you're scheduled to be suppressed. So the biggest takeaway that I'm taking from that is if you're doing something that is non-compliant with this new policy, while I have read on Amazon forums of people that have been selling for 10, 14 years, losing their accounts over this, Amazon are saying, if we identify it, we are giving you 30 days notice to either amend or sell through and close the bundle, which I think means there's very little to worry about here for any existing listings you might have. But if they are non-compliant, it does mean that if you put a lot of time, money, and effort into creating that listing, it could effectively now be gone. And what I'm thinking of here is sort of the likes of the Mrs. Hinch bundles, where it is, Scrub Daddy, Pink Stuff, packet of generic marigolds that you're buying for 9p out of China, firing them all into a bundle, and then just going Jones's Gifts. Those days are over, according to Amazon. My take on this is there's a couple of thought points I have on this. One, you can only list bundles that are created and offered by the manufacturer. So I want to come back to that because there's a big opportunity there. If you actually come down to the actual policy, this, let me see if I can make this at all bigger. Shouldn't have done that. So this was always in compliance prior to last week. This was in compliance where you could have a trigger bottle and refills, and that was seen to be complementary items, and that was fine.
So this is the original.
This is the original. And my
Right,
takeaway
so,
from
yeah.
spending maybe 2 hours reading this original today is
Cool.
bugger all listings currently on Amazon are actually compliant with the original policy. So everybody that's sitting panicking today going, what about all my bundles? You were probably never compliant with the policy in the first place, which, let's be realistic, it's incredibly hard to be compliant in all policies at all times with Amazon because there are that many of them, which leads me to the notion of if you weren't compliant then and you're not compliant now, chances are you have very little to actually be concerned about. Now, it's Amazon, take that statement with a pinch of salt. So if we look at this, let me see, I should have seen if I could put this. Image options. What happens when you try and do stuff live?
Just while Eamonn's
Oh no,
configuring that.
I have one I made
Any
earlier.
questions, guys? DM myself or Eamon. There's been quite a few
DM you,
changes
Lloyd.
with.
I'm trying to do this. So this is everything I wanted done out earlier. So this was never compliant. So the bottle of fire liquid and a set of generic rubber gloves that you were putting in under Jones's Gifts or McCaffrey's Marvels was never compliant. And Amazon would just turn a blind eye. 4 different cans in a case pack of Fanta, Sprite, or Coke were fine, but individual cans repackaged weren't. Why you'd be selling cans of Coke's beyond me. Here is my bottom line on this one. If Amazon come down like a ton of bricks on anybody that's creating their own bundles, and people try to go back to the good old days of just selling on a shared listing when it comes to Q4, and you have 50 to 90 people trying to sell the same Cadbury advent calendar that everybody's buying out of Tesco's, trying to make money. Now that they're all VAT registered and they're cutting each other's throats and slashing prices, that's not going to fly anymore. I started the Amazon Seller 360 program, whatever the heck it's called, a couple of months back. And the first meeting I had with my consultant was, I want to be fully compliant with Amazon terms of service for creating bundles onto my own brand, because if I'm going to put a lot of time, money, and effort into doing this, I want to make sure that I'm doing it correct. His response with 2 other Amazon consultants on the call was, we are aware that there's a decline in third-party sellers doing arbitrage and online arbitrage, and that they've now pivoted into doing bundles. And we are actively encouraging that so we can retain sellers on the platform. I messaged a rather large seller last night. I have no idea how big they are, but if they told me they were doing $20-30 million a year, I wouldn't be at all surprised. And I said, what's going to be the crack with this? And he's like, it's simple. Do what we're all doing, move to Walmart. And if all the sellers have the same attitude, Amazon could end up going the same way of eBay and the comparison of Vinted, where they have to start backpedaling really fast if they start hemorrhaging sellers. Because if they start hemorrhaging sellers, they're going to hemorrhage customers. And while they don't actually make all that much money off fulfillment, they do off the data and the advertising. So my first takeaway from this is I don't think Amazon are going to be as aggressively enforcing this as the hype and panic on social media would suggest. The second thing is this is still only in place within the US marketplace. So I know there'll be some people watching this selling in the US marketplace. And while it is prudent that anything that happens in the US usually does a couple of months later trickle down into the UK market, it hasn't come here. So any knee-jerk reaction now, I think, would be a bit foolish at this stage. So in summary, yes, what you're no longer allowed to do is you are no longer allowed to list items that were not originally bundled by the manufacturer with their own UPC and barcode on it, and that all items within the bundle has to be from the one brand. So taking 3 bars of Cadbury's chocolate and then putting your own McCaffrey branded colouring pencils into that bundle will no longer fly. What I do think will still be tolerated, though categorically saying it is against policy, but I do suspect it will be tolerated, will be that you will be allowed to still create brands as long as you're by the same brand if you're not still the brand owner. So the notion of you saying taking 3 Cadbury bars and putting them under Jones's Gifts, I still think Amazon are going to tolerate that, even though it's against terms of service. That's just my gut feeling on the matter. Again, I could be proved completely right or wrong in that one. That remains to be seen.
Well, with that, Eamon, it doesn't sound like it's a long-term opportunity. You know,
Well, you obviously didn't pay attention to the Amazon conference last month.
slept through it, mate.
Well, it
Wasn't
was a
night
3-day
feeds.
conference. Well, wouldn't surprise me. So Amazon had a 3-day conference from 16th to 17th or 18th of September last month, as it would be. Amazon Accelerate, which is their sort of flagship conference in the States, where they announce all their different policy changes and what they're doing for the next year. And there was a lot of things launched. Obviously, the big focus was on AI. So there was an AI buy-in bot. So if you go on to your Amazon buy-in profile now, you'll be met with the equivalent of Microsoft Paperclip going, hey, it looks like you're trying to buy some chocolate. Can I help? And what they've also done is brought out product codename Amelia, which is going to be a bot to help sellers. Within that, they have brought in a range of built-in selling tools to help sellers navigate the platform, streamline inventory monitoring, demand forecasting, market strategies, account health management. And they've done all that. And you're thinking, geez, that's all the good of them. Why would they do that? And then on the second or third day, they managed to slip in that Amazon vendors are being lined up against the wall and being told, hey, it's been fun, but the party's over. And for anybody not sure what an Amazon vendor is, it's for any brand that has been selling directly to Amazon. So if you've ever went on a list and you're like, oh, Amazon's dominating the buy box, stay away from it. That brand is an Amazon vendor selling directly to Amazon at wholesale. So they sell the items in bulk to Amazon, Amazon do the storage, logistics, set pricing, do the whole works, and do it all up for them. And what Amazon have now said is, that's been good and all, but that's taken too much time, money, and effort. And what we're going to do is, if you're not one of the top tier level brands, so if you're not sort of doing over $5 to $10 million, and that's an assumption of size, well, you can either sell on our platform or you can go away because you're not worth the time and effort. So what that is going to mean is, and they're bringing this implemented in from the 9th of November in the US. From the 9th of November, there is going to be a list of vendors told, hey, if you want to still sell on the Amazon platform, we suggest you set up a selling account and start packing your own stuff in and either send it in FBA or offering FBM services. What that is going to mean is that Amazon, great for them, they have less logistics. They save money on providing and doing the vendor support. They also make more money off the fulfillment fees from their brands. From the brand point of view, what it means is that brand who might have been selling to Amazon for the last 5, 10, 15 years is suddenly now trying to scramble to get their items back onto that platform. So say, for example, it says here, you can create bundle listings with products from a single manufacturer. If you had a relationship with a brand that suddenly found themselves with no route to market to sell on the Amazon platform after multiple years of selling, and suddenly you've got a letter of authority to say that you act as representing that brand on the Amazon platform, you are in effect the brand. So you can then use the brand's UPC, use their GS1 barcodes to create unique bundles and provide them to Amazon customers. So rather than people going into B&M bargains and getting 3 different bottles of, I don't know, Febreze and calling it Jones's Miracles and selling it on Amazon and then getting hit with an IP complaint, they could be going direct to the brand and going, hey, I've been selling on Amazon for X number of years. I'm in a position where I can take your top 10 or 20 ASINs, create them into bundles using the correct UPC methods, represent your brand on the Amazon platform, and do it in a manner that is fully compliant with this policy, that provides the brand with an opportunity to have a route to market and provide you with safe, protected, consistent sales. And if that doesn't sound like an absolute gift, now logistically, there's going to be a bit of work there. Financially, there's going to be challenges there. But for the right people that are rightly set up for this, this is going to be fantastic. For those that aren't set up to it, Amazon's just going to have a lovely big gate and they're going to be checking your ID to see who's getting in. If you've got brand authority, if you've got letters of authorization from a brand going, yeah, we used to be a vendor on Amazon, now we're not, we need somebody to sell our products. Eamonn, can you go do that for us? And have an agreement in place there, then fantastic. If you don't have that, it's going to be a challenge. However, having said that, if you're one of the ones that doesn't have any of those agreements, which I don't, I'm working on one, and that one is all I need if I can get it, I still think there's still going to be plenty of opportunity to still be selling 3 packs of Cadbury Caramel on Amazon under your own brand name, where Amazon's just going to be like, right, it's fine. The reason why I think that is, 1 second, like, is because if we look at the HFSS, so high fat, sugar, and salt, year 18 months ago, Amazon were all over that like a rash. Then they sort of forgot about it. And now there's new legislation being released on their back on top of it again. Declarations of conformity, when Brexit hit, Amazon were all over that. Now you never hear anybody worrying about DOCs. Amazon take notions every Q4. And I naively said to a client recently that, no, Amazon haven't bothered doing anything this year. They must have just let it go. And then a day later, this happens. So there's going to be massive opportunities for those that are able to make the connections and build brand relationships and represent those brands on Amazon, which gives you incredible longevity and long-term security and viability on the platform. For those that aren't, I still think this will be somewhat of a storm in a teacup where it'll calm itself down in a couple of months. So either way, it's either going to be I'm much ado about nothing, but with the coupling of Amazon releasing a lot of its smaller first party vendors, there's going to be big opportunities there. I was speaking to somebody this morning who explained how you can identify those brands. That I didn't have time to figure all out this afternoon. I've had a quick look at it. I will be doing another live on that sometime next week when I figure out time. But I have went from going, oh holy hell, I'm packing up, I'm just done, I'll go back to school teaching, sure, I've had a good ride, to going, this is fantastic. This has just put things on a completely different level. So I'm buzzing for this. There is brilliant opportunities ahead.
So, in summary, Eamon, there's a large number of vendors going forward that won't have representation on Amazon, and that's where you see the biggest selling opportunity since COVID. Now, you've also mentioned you need to have your head screwed on. You need to be in the right position with your business. So, guys, we've got over 50 people watching this live. Drop your questions, and we'll endeavour to answer as many as we can before 5:30. We are going to be running a follow-up live next week to basically show you how you can identify these brands. Isn't that right, Amy?
Yeah, so the plan is there is a method to identify which brands are vendors. So I need a bit of time just to confirm that myself before I start showcasing it, in case I show somebody the wrong way of doing it. As I said, because this is all only been implemented in the US first, the first vendors in the US aren't actually getting the tap on the shoulder until the 9th of November. So you're looking at another 3 weeks before the first brands in the US are going to be even aware that this is an issue for them. Now, I'm sure vendors, if they've been paying attention, might be suspecting it. So what this means is if you've reached out to a brand recently and they've laughed at you, come next March or April, they might be phoning you back on here. Sorry about that. I was in the middle of something there, but let's continue that conversation. They might be suddenly a lot more keen to talk to you. Like that is the one thing that I've noticed in recent years selling on Amazon is that wholesalers and brands are now becoming a lot more keen to speak to Amazon sellers because they can see the benefits. And I've spoke to brands who are not on the platform and they're like, it's just a minefield and we don't have the time for it. So if you're able to take their brand or now re-represent their brand on Amazon, people are going to be very keen to see that.
Love it. Okay, so
It's going to make for an interesting 12 months, I'll tell you that much. Then again,
very
Amazon may
dynamic.
not bring any of that into the UK, but I'd be highly surprised if it doesn't come in.
Oh, it'll be coming in. I mean, it makes a lot of sense for Amazon to remove vendors that probably aren't profitable for them.
Pretty much. So from what I can see of Amazon in recent months, they have been removing out relationships with vendors and programs that are no longer or aren't as profitable. They stopped Amazon lending back in what was it, April or May, simply because they weren't comfortable with the level of
Risk.
defaults that was occurring. So they were like, we can just bring in partnership with ULend and let ULend take the risk and let their underwriting take the risk, where they're still getting a cut of it somewhere, I'm assuming. They have removed, they've been actively encouraged sell and fulfill Prime. So all the perks of Prime delivery to Amazon customers, but at the expense of the third party seller who obviously have to ensure the logistics, staff, and insurance and all that. So Amazon have been quietly over the last year or so been reducing down their liability and exposure on their most expensive features of fulfilled by Amazon and putting the onus back on the third party sellers. So that is where I'm sitting thinking, going, Amazon is not really going to want to really rock the boat with third party sellers for them to turn around and say, you know what? I can just sell Invented or eBay where it's free fees and I don't need all this hassle, or Walmart's growing like mad. So much so that Amazon, what is it? BY, let me check here. I made a note on it. Where did I write that down? Here. Buy with Prime. They're now pushing that where Amazon know people are buying on other platforms. So they're facilitating seamless checkout with PayPal. And they're also facilitating buy with Prime on the likes of TikTok and greater levels of Shopify integration. So I don't think Amazon are going to be super aggressive on this policy and run the risk of other sellers just going, we're just going to move to Walmart or eBay or something like that where there's not the same level of legislation. So brilliant opportunity to get brand deals with vendors who have found themselves suddenly in a position where they can't sell directly to Amazon and who don't have the appetite or capabilities of selling directly to them, directly onto it themselves. And if that is not something that you're at a level at yet, if you're only starting out and you're sitting going, well, I'm not in a position to do that, that's fine. There'll be a lot of people not in that position. I do think give it a couple of months. And while Amazon will bring this in the UK, it will eventually sort of settle itself down. And if you do create a listing or you do currently have listings that are not fully compliant with this, you'll get an email and 30 days to sort that listing out. So anybody that has been sitting panicking all day, frantically reading, going, what the hell's going on? I'd be saying go calm yourself, because worst case scenario, you get a performance notification and told, hey, you have 30 days to clear that listing or change that title, in which case sell through your stock. If you can't edit the listing, delete the listing and move on and start making ones that are compliant. Easy. Have I confused you, Lloyd?
No, I'm just trying to do a million things at once. So I've dropped a question in from Giles Lester. Might have missed that earlier in the video, Giles, so certainly rewatch it back. We'll wrap this up fairly quickly because you have plans this evening.
Cool.
And
Anything
next
you
step,
think I should go over?
I think we've covered it pretty well. I think it's good to have a hard deadline for 5:30. So,
Yeah,
guys,
that
it's
one
not a
question
convenient
there.
yeah it's not a convenient time for everyone. Obviously, 5 p.m. UK time. So we'll share the replay on YouTube and in the group. And any questions, we'll certainly follow up. We will be running live next week at some stage to demonstrate how to identify vendors that
Yeah.
worth contacting. This is obviously hot off the press. It's a very dynamic situation, so we're dealing with new information as it comes through. So, yeah, but all that being said, it's a massive opportunity for anyone who can position themselves as that set in place of the vendor program for brands. So yeah, absolutely massive. And thanks, Eamon, for putting all this together in a short period of time.
You're welcome. I see Giles' questionnaire. He was asking, so we'll be no longer able to add a white label product. Effectively, no. And that is the one thing I think Amazon will sort of come down on more than if you are adding items that are not originally bundled by the manufacturer. So say, for example, you're selling a 3-pack of Cadbury caramel chocolate, which Cadbury have never sold it in a 3-pack before. You're creating a GS1 barcode and creating that unique bundle. So that isn't breach of their terms of service because you're not the manufacturer and you shouldn't create that bundle. However, I think that is going to be tolerated a lot more than if you're doing a 3-pack of Cadbury chocolate and you're adding in your own unique pencil that you've white labeled and brought in from China by the thousands. Because too many times people are saying, well, I bought 3 items and a rubber sponge or a sponge or a magnet or a gift card or a post-it note with 3 recipe ideas of how to make a crisp sandwich came, what's that about? So I would imagine the whole notion of creating the unique elements of the bundle, which is just superfluous to try and brand your bundle, that item is going to be removed. What will be curious though is if you are creating a bundle where it's 3 bars of Cadbury chocolate and you've called it Jones's Gifts and you have that under your brand, if I then try and add to that listing, how much will Amazon enforce removing other sellers? Will they just be like, no, we know you've made this bundle, but we know it's not fully compliant and Eamonn can now join the listing? That is where I'm still up in the air as to what way they'll go with it. But if they just allow it to become a case where you can create a listing, but everybody can join it, and within a month or two it's a race to the bottom, that's not going to be good for third-party sellers. They're not going to stay about, and that's going to cause problems. So it'll be curious what way they work that one. So I think we've covered a lot of the questions that have been put in the post before the live. Pardon me. How to make a crisp sandwich. Cindy, I swear I have seen how-to guides on how to make a crisp sandwich. And that's what I think Amazon's really wanting to get away from. If you're creating bundles that are still complementary items of each other, I do believe that Amazon's still going to tolerate and allow it. Even though it is fully against their terms of service, I think that level of it will still be allowed. As for the when are the vendors ending, Francine, for the US side, they've give a deadline that on the 9th of November, they're going to start reaching out to vendors and telling those. So right in the heart of Q4, telling vendors that's it, we're not buying off you anymore. Fantastic timing. When that will come into play in the UK is still to be determined, yet there's been no announcement made that I have been able to determine. I think you have the representation of the entire brand. Can we not just get the brand permission? I would imagine it will be a case of if you have the brand permission, if you have a letter of authority to say that you're acting on behalf of that brand and you are then listing it as that brand. So if you're able to list items on Amazon as Cadbury's, as the brand, and you're creating that listing, well, then you should be allowed to do that. But without some sort of agreement with the brand, you're not getting that letter of authority. They don't just give them out willy-nilly. And if you do manage to get one for Cadbury's, show the love, let me in on that, because that would be quite tasty in many respects. Do you have to create a whole new listing? That'll depend if they flag your current listings once this comes into effect in the UK, if it does, which I'd expect it will. When you ever created branded bundles, 2 or 3 of someone, will we still be able to do this if we are ungated? So if you're creating branded bundles, will that be just creating a shared listing that was already with the UPC? If you're creating your own GS1 barcodes for it, well then yes, you would still be able to do that, but it is against terms of service. Is this getting rid of generic brand? Yeah, well, generic's gone. Amazon doesn't want generic about the place at all, because the concept of generic is very closely akin to counterfeit. Because if it's just a generic item that people think, well, then it's mass produced, there's no trademark, there's no quality assurance, and customers don't want it. It is ridiculous amount of people that I speak to that I know I sell on Amazon, and they're still incredibly hesitant about buying on Amazon in case they're buying fakes. I have had family members send me links going, think this is fake? You're like, they've got 1,000 positive reviews. I think it's okay. But people still have that fear, and that's what Amazon's trying to sort out here. Hayden, so much more fair, 30 days notice instead of instant deactivation. I will preface that. I've spent a considerable deal of time this afternoon in Amazon forums in America, and there was people screaming blue murder, going, "How the hell are you doing this when you banned my account after 14 years without a single IP issue, and just out of the nowhere a ban for doing exactly what you're now saying sellers will have 30 days of warning on?" So you're long enough in the game to know that just because Amazon says they're going to give you 30 days notice and play nice, it's Amazon, it's their toy box, and they will play by their rules. So there's no guarantee that you're going to get that 30 days. They've said you'll get that 30 days, but you know better than that, sir. So ideally, you'll get that, and it'll all be nice and rosy, but I wouldn't hang my hat on it for to be a complete guarantee. Like with anything on Amazon, you take a risk every time you create a listing. Most times it's a small risk, but you just never know. What I would say though is most people that I know that have got suspended have usually been able to get unsuspended with just a bit of determination, and sometimes just groveling and begging works. So life will go on. Like as I said before this call to Lloyd, a couple of years ago you had the storage issues. Then there was, can't remember what it was now. There's been a couple of different things over Christmas.
IPI and yeah,
Oh yeah, IPI scores and different things. This will come and go.
inventory limits.
This will come and go. I can see why it's such a hot topic. I know a lot of people over the last sort of 12 to 18 months or longer have been massively getting into bundles. But I can see this just being somewhat of a storm in a teacup. So genuinely, a level of you. I didn't have a great night's sleep last night. I woke several times. I was on different forums, reading different things, Googling, messaging my Amazon rep, messaging anybody that I thought was big in the sort of game of that. And yeah, the more I've read about it, the more I'm reassured that we're okay. What are your thoughts on all the brands like the Bundle Hut who do chocolate gift sets in their own branded boxes? Where do they sit on Ross? They're completely dead in the water. Will it be the end of their business? I would suspect not, because some of them sellers are really big. Like Amazon doesn't want to lose that. As much as they say, no one seller's too big, they'll not want to do it. I think what you'll start to see a lot of, you'll see a lot more articulately categorized brand bundles. So it'll be Cadbury's only, Nestle only, 3-pack of Snickers, 5-pack of Mars bars, rather than a dark chocolate variety pack or orange chocolate variety pack. If you ever look for orange chocolate variety packs, there's everybody under the sun selling the same 8 or 9 bars of chocolates in a variety of different Canva designs. And Amazon wants to move it away from that. That's interesting. This has consumed my last 18 hours of my life. And yeah, the more I've read into it, the more I'm reassured that this will be all okay. But that linked with the opportunity of the vendors now being removed, I think is going to be great opportunities, because if you've been flat out creating bundles and you're really panicking, the takeaway from this should be you have the opportunity to level up here. 2024 could be the year that instead of you buying 12 units from this and 12 units from that and creating a test bundle and adding a wee bit of PPC and see how it goes, you have the opportunity to go direct to a brand and go, hey, here is my credentials. Here's what I've done in these listings. Let me manage your brand. And that is massive. How long do you think before it'll hit the UK? Roughly speaking, it's usually what, 3 to 4 months, Lloyd?
Quarter,
3
really,
to
isn't
4.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so new year.
New year, new problems. Will we be able to list on other people's listings for bundles? That I don't know. Well, I don't know how much Amazon's going to facilitate or enforce that one. But if you're listing it under your own brand when you're not the brand owner, that is against the new policy. If you're trying to list it as Cadbury's, well, then it's a shared listing, in which case anybody can list on it. But for it to be a shared listing, there has to already be an EAN for that. And if you just go for an EAN exemption, it'll go for a while, in which case other sellers can still list on it too. So my answer would be no to that. Wonderful.
I think that's
Guys,
yeah, we'll wrap
thank you
this up.
so much for the number of people that have showed up, for those that have asked questions. I hope I have been informative and accurate with my information. As I said, that was the best of my knowledge that I could find out from today. Again, I don't think Amazon's going to military enforce this the way people think they do. They probably will for a while, but you're going to get warnings, you're going to get performance notifications, you're going to get opportunities to address the issues. So, like anything, and while I've got so many people on this, check your performance notifications every bloody day. The amount of people I've spoken to recently, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I don't really check that." Go check your performance notifications, please. It'll make me sleep better at night. Guys, any issues, questions, any follow-ups, drop them under the recording and we can have a public conversation so that it's not DMs where people then don't know what's going on. Let's keep the information public so that everybody can benefit from this. It's why we didn't run it inside the group, paid private clients. There's some things that comes down the line from Amazon and you're just like, hey, it is only decent and human that as many people as possible hear this information. So
a
that is as
rising
best that I
tide
can do.
raises all ships, as they say.
I agree, sir. Just don't
So
check.
you're thinking maybe what are you laughing at?
Cindy's comment of just don't check performance notifications before you go to bed. I'll make sure you don't sleep, Cindy. Yeah.
Yeah. Set your boundaries and keep them. So you're thinking Tuesday next week, Eamon, for just a follow up on the source vendors potentially, something like that. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. We'll see a day, if not Tuesday, possibly Thursday. I have meetings lined up with one very big seller in the US and one global head of marketing for a very large software company who I, ironically enough, had reached out to me to have a meeting on Friday. So now I'm like, can I go speak to that girl? And they're like, we'll make a few phone calls and see if she'll squeeze in. So I want to have a chat with her first. So there's no point doing a live and just filling full of dead space. I want to have information to bring to the table.
Yep, sounds good. So guys, yeah, just check group. We'll send that up by email as well. Yeah, just keep in touch.
Cool.
Right, Eamon, I
Right.
think dinner's on.
I know. I probably should have arranged dinner this evening, so we might have to go out. But we shall see.
All right, mate. Speak to you soon.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Yeah, take
Thanks
care.
for coming.
Bye.